Good morning. All right. So markets are up a little bit here, not a big deal. I guess somewhat expected after a 2-day drop and with a gap down. And so yesterday didn't go that much further from the open, a little bit more so. And so now we got this little counter attempt, right, to move back up above this range here. And so now it's hitting, yes, that heavier part of resistance. It was tested one time and now two times. So based on that, I mean, it's gone. Well, the second hour, the one that's trading just started. So, but it's got over an hour of spending some time up here, which is a little positive, and it had a downside reversal. So there were buyers on dips this morning, pushed it back up. And you can see here on the 15-minute chart that sellers are trying to take control, but so far their buyers are holding it up there. And I guess if it can stay above this 2656 area or so, well, then that could lead at least an attempt up into, well, let's just go with the 20 MA to start, which is 27, let's say 20, 32.75. So about here. And so what we see here, and it's a reinforcement of our concept of moving averages being subjective as a reference point, and is there actually anything there? Um, and as you can see, there's nothing. It's just an unfilled gap. So some line on the chart that we place there, the way we use it, visual aid, indication of trend, what's to the left, so on and so forth. So going across here, I mean, this has basically just been blown through, so I don't think it's very relevant at all. What's relevant here is the fact that there's a void between here and here. And if it can clear here, let's say it refuses to go down some bottoming tails or 180 bullish reversals or what have you, at least that opens up a bias that it can fill the gap, and then again the heavy lifting starts. So we don't have a very big area between where it is and the next potential stopping point. And remember, it's an area. So let's just say somewhere in here. And that would make a lot of sense, based on the damage that was done here. I guess somewhere about here would be normal for sellers to try and see if they can drive it lower from there. And of course, the downside is if it can't get through here, well, it could be range bound, but there's really nothing to stop it from going down, let's say to the 50 or down here if things get out of hand. But I kind of don't expect that to happen today anyway, because of the move down and kind of just the trading here, traders kind of just testing it out, let's see what happens. It holds, let's see how far it can go. And just kind of reading what happens to get some more information as to, well, there's no doubt at all in my mind, the strength of this move to the downside. That is a big red bar and a big gap, and it followed through. So it definitely has power and momentum to the downside. And now we see what the reaction is as it begins to stabilize. So a normal retracement should be sellers there. And then as we always do, we say, well, the move started here and it ended there. How far can it get from here to here? And the further it can get from here to here, right, more it negates this. Now, this is a vertical move. It's not your kind of downward sloping kind of move, messy kind of thing like that. No, this is like, get me the hell out. I don't care if I have to jump out of a 10-story building into a fire pit. I got to get out. So if this hangs down here for a few days and can't rally, well, that's going to provide us more information. So Anyway, long story short, I think today could be a little bit more difficult of a trading day, just as far as getting some kind of larger movement. But we'll see how it goes and assess it as it develops. Let's move on to the next. So NQ is pretty much the same pattern. As you can see here, it's stalled right there and created some support, right? So it's already tested the bottom of this. It went deeper into this congestion there. So one of the things that we measure, besides just, okay, it went from here to here, how far can it go back, is multiple attempts, and how far do those attempts get into an area of congestion to the left, which, as we look at that, the theory behind that is that, okay, the first time it couldn't get too far. And so let's say it's bearish to neutral. The second time it goes all the way up to the top. That's, let's just say, based on this chart right here. That's impressive, right? It retraced basically 100%, got deeper into that. And so the way I look at it, reading price patterns, is that it's weakened this as a reference point of resistance. It will tell where it will go out of the 60 minutes sideways. Well, it is going sideways already, Tony. So, and the way I do that objectively, as I try to do everything I do, is to say, okay, it started here and it went down to there. So let's say, okay, this is a downtrend and this is your major support resistance. And so, just to have some kind of rules as to, what am I thinking? Well, my rule says if this can retrace 80% or more from here to here, that puts the trend sideways. And so this is obviously, you can just see it sideways, but it's an objective rule-based method of just saying, well, if this happens, this becomes my bias. Overall, this is still damaged goods, but maybe it can get up into here. Are you talking to me, Alex? Somebody type something else. What? Gustav. Okay. All right. So Q's same thing. YM. Pretty much same thing, same pattern. This already got down to the 50. But there's really nothing there. All right. So again, we'll see how this all goes, but you can see, just to show you what I'm talking about here. There's nothing here to here. So we'll just see what happens if it does start to drop. And I've got my reference points and alarms and what have you to see where it all goes. All right. Russell, pretty much the same story, a little bit of relative strength, but it came down the worst. So it's outperforming a little bit, but let's look at this weekly chart. Right? Little consolidation, breakout, complete failure. And now underneath it, the week is still just developing. We'll see where this all goes. So far, it is holding support rather than just ramming right down through it like it's not there. So a slight positive as far as that goes. But so let's say by just kind of talking, let's say by Thursday, this can't push into this red bar. Well, that begins to shift the thought to, well, whatever buyers there are here that are holding it, they can't push deeply into what is a void above. I mean, this is a void. And, those of you that are around, you've heard me say that's the weakest link in the chart because there's no resistance. There's nothing to stop it. So it's like, okay, you've done a tremendous amount of damage and now you have to keep pounding, right? If you just look at this as a battle and that's your enemy, if you were in a fight in a ring and you've knocked your opponent down, well, keep punching him in the head, right? He comes up, punch him and knock him back down again. And if he keeps getting up, you got a problem. And so, after, again, this damage has been done, the longer it can stay up here, and as it starts to inch further into that, the more sellers will lose confidence. And that's how we read the price action, with common sense. Oil, right? Getting closer to this support level down here. So a little bit of stabilization, but this is what I'm talking about, where you get this kind of a big move that creates a void. And after some time of stabilization, where it can make this counter move, and it failed, and there's nothing below, it's like, well, down the toboggan slide it goes. And now it's coming to support. You look to the left, expect some stabilization. And here we go. And now bonds have cleared this immediate resistance area over here, and it's got room to run to the upside by the dips. So, we've had, the markets are up a little bit, bonds come down a little bit. It's got this somewhat of an inverse relationship here. So something to keep an eye on. If the markets do stay up today, do bonds fall? Or do they just kind of hang here saying, well, market, you're doing whatever bullishness you can muster today, but us bond buyers here, we don't have much belief that you're going to get up for the third or fourth round here. You're going down. And so that's part of looking at things from an intermarket point of view. But you can see right now that little breakout there that failed. But let's see how much it pulls to the downside or does nothing. They're bouncing today, Alex. I got a bunch of emails today. Yesterday. I tell you, last week, I think I mentioned that I had moved the email system to one place and then flipped it back to the other. Yeah, I don't know. I'll take a look at that. I got a slew of emails already today. All right, gold just stabilizing here. Just coming into the gap fill and bouncing back up. Weekly looks just fine. Silver a bit weaker, but it's in a trading range, but kind of a red bar. Another counter trend reaction, some strength in the markets and so on. So normal what's going on here. We'll see if it holds this support where it's been doing that for a while. And it's a disappointment with the transports here. The market came in, whether it's this virus thing, blah, 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 just correction. But anyway, we had this nice breakout out of this trading range, and now prices have closed down below the low of the breakout bar. And that's not good. And so on some support here, and we'll see if it can hold this area. And other than Southwest Airlines and JetBlue, I mean, UAL was taking a nosedive yesterday. And, as I looked some of these utilities, I didn't see too much reason for things to hold. See, SX. The rails, some of the rails look pretty good. So maybe this is just some market damage there, but we keep an eye on some of these to see how they hold up or not. So, all right, that's it for me. I think today maybe is going to be some chop and slop, and see what the day brings. All yours, Dan.
All right. Good morning. Yeah, I obviously was hoping that we'd get a gap down and more sell-off, to get I like beautiful multi-5-day sell-offs and reversals, but the market doesn't care what I want. So yeah, but if we, as Greg said, go sideways for a couple days, then it'll still be a no-brainer short. And if I do go long anything today of the indexes, I kind of like the Qs the best. It has a bigger gap here. It's holding fine over the pre-market highs. Maybe if that coincides with 30 minutes, that could be a nice day trade. Wow, look at the volume yesterday. Wow. All our opens are fine. We nibbled on some VIX calls and on this little afternoon breakouts, gapping down here, and I had a stop yesterday's low, and we'll just time it with the spiders. If the spiders start getting bullish, then we'll stop out of this and reassess. It might come into the gap and give us another entry. We have a Netflix put spread for Friday. That's gapping up. And we have a lift put spread for Friday, and that's fine. I won't go through the others. They all look fine. ICE, I like this over the high. We were watching it all day yesterday. That looks great. McGraw sent me 2 trades. Levi, I was about to post it as an official long breakout daily weekly, but it has earnings on in Thursday. Same with DGX. Nice gap reversal, wide range breakout, similar to that ICE, but that also has earnings on Thursday. Apple gapping up over this resistance, and it has earnings after the bell. But if this starts going, this will probably be the one that's going to drag the Qs up. It could, when you trade into earnings, you still get some of that bullish or bearish sentiment. If that sets up, that could be a day trade. We got a bunch of earnings here and just other gappers. 575. That's a big gap. Nothing to do with it. APT gapping down to 7 here. It went up vertical. I'm just assuming was one of these stocks or bios or whatever that's moving on the virus news. I think this one was NVAX. And now those are just day trades, really. I would never want the overnight risk, as you see with these gappers. That's a bearish gap. This Sanmina, yeah, I can't tell where you're gapping. That's, late volume, you're going. Triple G gapping up to 55. That's a bullish gap to all-time highs. But it's excessive. But it's excessive, but bullish. Hash, your sloppy pattern, can't tell where you're trading. IPAR, light volume, 46,000. LRN, it's a mess. GO, 34 bucks here. It was a beautiful climactic sell setup. Maybe 10-minute low. You could get a day trade short. Xerox 3640. It's gapping right to a ton of resistance. I think that had earnings. UTX earnings 149. That's slop. We'll come back to it. POL 34. Your slop. PII 96 bucks. There's a bullish gap. That's a definite put spread watch. Let me put that in the window. MKC down 10 bucks. 163. Wow, that's a big gap. Giving up, 90% of this. Wow, that was at all-time highs. That's a disappointment for the bulls. GPK, there's nothing going on. FBC, nothing. These are all just earnings. I just throw them in here and I don't even look at them at the time because I like doing it live. SIT, big old mess. You're gone. GWB, mess. OSIS, mess. PCAR, flat. It's flat, but it had a bearish gap breakdown. And it's a topping pattern with a price void. Look at the rolling 20 and 50. So I like that as a possible short. And bear call credit spread watch. 147, gap and resistance, nothing to do. HEA near, or LEA rather, 130, you're opening flat, but nothing. LMT has been a beast. Remember, we were trading it in this little ascending triangle, gapping up to all-time highs. We'll come back to it. ALK, garbage. AOS, gapping up a little bit, but you're just, you would be swimming upstream because that's a nasty 2-bar collapse. So I have no interest in that. YouTube's asking about Google. There's no pattern on the daily to do anything, stock or option trade. So just like yesterday, we are primarily in day trade mode for that same reason. And this is gapping up over all this resistance, so it's stronger than the Qs. And so if it can get over the pre-market highs, it could be a day trade long. CalX, strong uptrend. I can't tell where we'll come back to you. FXI got, this is the China ETF's gotten whacked here with all the bad news. We'll see if it can stabilize and then maybe sell a put spread on it since volatility has contracted. I'm sorry, volatility has risen in the sell-off. Wow, that's a monster gap. That has to be a bio. BWA 3550. Oh, I think that's a bearish gap. They're buying Delphi car parts, I think. Beyond, hey Greg, TC showed this as earnings last night after the bell, and it
was downgraded today to neutral, but it didn't have a very negative reaction, so it looks kind of bullish.
No, but we're right. That's why I'm still looking at it, because I saw the downgrade. But all I'm saying is TC said it had earnings, and that's why we stayed away from it as a put spread yesterday. So if somebody wants to check when it has earnings, if it's not this week, then yeah, you can see it was down $3 earlier, and now it's creeping back up. And I'd consider a put spread for Friday if it sets up and no earnings. UTX, we'll come back to it. Pulte, these home builders have been on fire lately. Look at this now, gapping up again, but no trade. Pfizer's a big old mess. You're gone. News finally up. These steel stocks have gotten clobbered. 5150, so it's just a gap and a downtrend. 3.2, all right, thanks, McGraw. Another way to kind of back into it, at least for our purpose, McGraw, is find out when they reported last. And if it was, 6 weeks or less, then we know we got plenty of time. Triple M, gapping down 171 and change. That would be a bear call credit spread watch. LMT, we looked at. Hog. Yeah, Gertz and Telechart 2000 showed it yesterday too. All right, 3267. This is a bearish gap, but kind of excessive. So that's Hog. So Fabio, shorts under the radar. Hog, FFI V 126. It's just when the gap's big, it's harder, to get on board. But look at these moving averages. Look at that. That's a picture. Now look at this. This is another fantastic example if you were just trading moving averages alone, so ignore the candlesticks. Look at this declining 200. So now, look at this. Short-term rally and starts to roll. Short it. Now we're getting far and they're starting to contract. Cover. It means, it's getting oversold. Converge, stabilization, roll. Climactic again. Rolling. Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful example of MAs, of bearish MA alignment. HCA, the Whirlpool. There's a put spread, McGraw. It's sloppy. I wouldn't touch it as a directional, but I like earnings because of the high volatility.